Hello, and welcome to our esteemed panelists and our global audience joining us from across the globe. It is with great pleasure and excitement that I open this very timely and engaging panel discussion on the ever evolving landscape of Web3 technology. I am Anastasia Tracy Raissis, and I'm honored to assume the role of moderator for today's Web3 Roundtable. In a digital age marked by rapid innovation and transformation, Web3 stands out as a paradigm shift that promises to redefine the way we interact with each other in this digital world. And today we gather to explore the dynamic landscape of Web3, to contemplate its immense potential and its challenges, the innovations that await us. Ooh, that was a tough one to say. The innovations that await us on this exciting and disruptive journey. As your moderator, I have the privilege of guiding this conversation and but it's our esteemed colleagues who bring the wealth and knowledge to this diverse perspective, and they are visionaries in their own fields. Uh, each of them is a thought leader, but I would like this to be interactive. So as we go through this discussion, if there's anyone that would like to enter any of their questions to the chat, that would be absolutely great. Over the next hour, we will embark on a journey of exploration, transversing key themes as we define this Web3 discussion going forward. So, without further ado, let's begin this discussion. At this point, I invite each of our panelists to introduce themselves, and we'll start with Demu.
Hi, so I'm Dominic Winston. I am the global head for Web3 innovations across Amazon. I'm primarily focused on our real estate organization. I also built out our professional services business pretty much in this space on the AWS side of the house. And now I'm very fortunate enough to be working on some really cool projects across the organization and excited about this conversation, especially with the panelists that we have here today. And thank you for having us.
Right. Fatma? Fatma.
So I am Fatma Safti, founder and CEO of Meta Essence. Meta Essence is a startup company based in US and UAE. And the major products that we provide sovereign metaverse for the Gulf region here. Before Meta Essence, I was supporting the government initiatives and different projects and solutions in the UAE for more than 15 years. Happy to be here and happy for hosting me.
Great. Leila.
Hi, Stacy, Dama, and Fatma, and everyone attending this panel discussion. It's really a pleasure to be among all of you. So, introducing myself, Leila Al Hadrami from Oman, but you can find me globally because I'm flying every month, everywhere. So, because I'm very passionate when it comes to the smart cities. And when I'm speaking about smart cities, is about, let me say, the implementation of different technologies. And when it comes to the Web3, I'm one of the pioneers who started using, let me say, the metaverse since 2006. And it's going to be very exciting because I'm sure today we are going to discover together, explore the importance of Web3. And is it like a new technology or it was there a long time ago? And I have to say, it's now rocking. That's why we are all of us here today. So pleasure to join you all. And now I'm also the managing director of C3 Advisory, which is Communities Connect Cities. Pleasure to be among all of you.
Fantastic. So you can see we have a great panel here. All right, so let's start with an understanding of what Web3 is, because some people in our audience might not understand what Web3 is. Others may, but let's get on some common ground. So, how would you define Web3 technology, and try to do it in simple terms, and why it's significant in today's digital landscape? And we'll start with Fatma.
Okay, so if we explain the Web3 technology, as you mentioned, Tracy, in the beginning, it is the paradigm shift in the way we interact with internet now. It is more about describing the decentralized solutions and how we provide user-centric internet or solutions for the end users, built on different technology, on specific technology, which is blockchain, and also how we can build different applications, which is decentralized applications, where we enable peer-to-peer interaction without any intermediate entities or organization. Also, this one covers different type of industries tracks like finance or decentralized finance, like gaming, like social network, supply chain management, and so on. But not only that, talking about user centric, it's also about the identity. So Web3, it provides also the self-sovereign identity solutions for the end users, allowing them to having the exposure on the different virtual assets, whether it is collectible NFTs or non-fungible tokens, or utility NFTs where they can have the access on certain utility-based asset like attending event or tickets for specific events, or maybe certificate for specific government service if you are mentioning government, and so on. So this is like the quick intro about the Web3 technology, and yes, happy to hear from the others.
Okay. Layla, what are your thoughts?
Okay. Well, I have to say, this question remind me how we really started using the internet. Because when we started, and I always call ourselves the good people, because our era is totally different from the ones, as we call them, this generation. So when we started the first time using the internet, even the way we connect to the internet, it was dial-up. It's not like the Wi-Fi, or let me say the cellular. So the moment we connect with the dial-up, it was like this beep, beep, beep. So okay, it's time now. And web one, it was about just reading. This is how we really started. We just enjoy to read. Let me say, go to a website and we just read. And then we started using the emails, so we can just send emails and that's all. When Web 2 started, we started to interact with each other. So it started mostly, with, let me say, with the era of the social media. And Web 3, it came with the beauty integration of different technologies. So because, as I said, Web 2, it was mostly interactive as social. But Web3, we are able now to do, let me say, financial interaction. We can pay, we can, let me say, sell during the Web3. And it's not about just one technology. It's combination of different technologies. It's about the metaverse, digital twins, blockchain, NFTs. You call it in the AI. So imagine all of these technologies together are hosted in one platform, and we have like different platforms. For example, when we started talking about the metaverse, everyone thought the metaverse is like a new technology because it's become very popular during COVID-19. And why during COVID-19? But as a technology, it started a long time ago. It started, let me say, from the 19th, because the first time the terminology was mentioned, it was inside a book, crash, So the term was there, but the technology started too early in the 2000 with some platform. For example, 2003, it was with Second Life. That was the popular, let me say, virtual platform at that time. And we used to call them virtual platforms. And where we are now, this is one of the examples. This is one of the examples. We are now using the Web3. We are coming now from different, let me say, countries, different zones, but we are talking together through this platform that has been built in a blockchain network, so it can make it very secured, and you can play with all of these, let me say, tools around us, so we can interact with each other, and you can see it's coming and going. So this is just one of the examples how it really started. And believe me, the technology is there a long time, but we might be late in using the technology. But the next generations are no more going to use the physical, let me say, services that we used to use it. They will be just in this world. So that's what I should share it, from my side.
Wow. Damu.
Yeah, I have a slightly um, a way I want to try to approach it now nowadays. So I think that the term Web3 has had so many different definitions over the months and years and so on and so forth. And what I like to believe is that we're at an opportunity now where we're getting really good adoption. You have, when you think about it from a blockchain, or let's say we think about it from a crypto perspective, or a better statement, we think about it from a digital assets perspective. You have over 1 point some trillion of liquidity tied up into these digital assets. And so that's one lens of a really broad uh, thing that describes an industry that we're calling Web3. I believe when we want to simplify it, you know, you have to go back to kind of the root of why it came up, why they started calling it Web3. So Web 1 being a read only web, in terms of being able to access the information, going to a website, and that you could just, like the Wall Street Journal, you could access the information. And then, so it was read only. Whereas Web 2 was read and write. That is kind of like the Facebooks of the world, and offering that the ability capabilities to be able to read and write information to the web. And then people started saying Web 3 was this ownership web. So the way I break it down is, just if we're following that same logic, those are three distinct evolutions of the web. And I truly believe where we are now is that it, at the end of the day, customers don't care if you call it Web 1, 2, or 3. All they care about is that the web works for them. And so for me, if this is a evolution of the web, then that means that there are domains that are driving that evolution. And so the domains, or technology domains, that are driving it are large language models, intelligence, ownership, and immersive capabilities. And so for me, when I think about Web 3, I think in terms of those three areas. It is intelligent, it is ownership, or the capability to have ownership, so digital ownership. And then the last one being, it is immersive. So when people talk about metaverse, that's largely what we call spatial compute. It's it's a small amount of it is actually blockchain, or decentralized if you really want, unless you want to do what we call decentralized rendering, which could be even more complex. So at the end of the day, if we want to call it the third evolution of the web, then I think it falls into those three categories, as being intelligent, having a sense of ownership, and the third one being immersive. That's how I'm approaching it here at Amazon.
Excellent. So that brings us into our next question. So the evolution and the future of Web3. So going into this concept of the evolution, the three stages that Damu just talked about, um, what do you see are the key milestones that brought us to where we are today, and where can this take us? What's your vision for where this can take us in the future? And let's start with Layla.
Okay. So when it comes to this, as I mentioned, earlier, when it comes, let me say, to these technologies, because till today, so many people they don't believe that this technology is going to survive, and say, we don't believe it's going to be, last forever. And this was the same what I really heard about it in 2006 when the first time I started using the second life version.
Right.
So it was almost the same thing. And it said every technology has its own time. And I'm telling everyone, we don't want to wait another COVID to hit us so we can go back to these technologies. We have to adapt these technologies to be part of our, let me say, daily lives. We can have, for example, hyper mode of having, let me say, flexibility at work, let me say, education, and it's becoming very much, let me say, popular in the, let me say, the health sector, because
Mhm.
now it's improving the diagnosis of the let me say, the illness. They are trying to improve it, because we use, for example, you get sick and they say, you need to do this and this and this, but now they are using these technologies to improve the quality of life for people. And we can have a lot of scenarios, and I'm say we should not wait just the future, because, for example, when it comes to the rise of education, we have so many kids, let me say, around the world, they don't have the right of the education. So the least we can utilize this technology is for offering for the kids, because we have, let me say, 17 goals when it comes to the sustainable development goals. And one of these is to have education as a right for every child, every person in this world. And if you want to empower our communities, our cities, How can they know about these technologies if you are not investing their education? So at least we should start from now to use these technologies, because it will, let me say, achieve the concept of diversity and inclusion around the world.
Mm.
Yes.
Fa- Fatma, what are your thoughts?
I agree with Laila on enabling the technology for healthcare and education and even different sectors. And as Laila said, or as Laila mentioned, the adoption of technology, it is very important. But I guess it's not before adapting technology, it's providing awareness. Why we have to use this technology? We shouldn't actually use the technology if we don't have certain technology, if we don't have a requirement or a need for using this technology. And if we are telling the need, then how Web3 and emerging technologies in general, like metaverse or the immersive experience that we give to the users, will enhance the different usage of solutions, or will enhance the sector, specific sector like healthcare or well-being or education. Talking about situation like COVID or even before COVID, we didn't see much of collaboration or having virtual kind of international education from specific country to another. Now, thanks to the metaverse and Web3, we can do that. We can execute the transaction on one of the platform, right? Having one course from Harvard, where we are sitting here in the UAE or in the Gulf, right? Attending certain course or certain or even excelling one of the skills that we have from international universities where we are here. Talking about the healthcare, right? If we have the immersive experience, right, with the right platform that it's maintaining the data confidentiality for the patients, because when we are dealing with healthcare or medical records, it has a different type of data and different type of how we treat or how we work on this data, right? If we have the right platform to provide the immersive experience for patients that they are looking for well-being, enhancing the motor skills after accidents, right? They can sit in one of the beaches in very nice country where they are in different country only from the metaverse, and they can start exercising. But not only that, there is a big usage of Web3 and the immersive experience when we are talking about disabilities and people of determination. Imagine I have a certain disability in my leg. For example, I cannot dive, but in the metaverse I can, right?
Mm.
I cannot swim, or I cannot jump from parachute because of any kind of disability. In metaverse, I can, right? If it is applied correctly and if it is measured with the right implementation and on the right platform. So again, it is about adoption, awareness, knowing about the technology and the border range that it can provide and the different solutions, and again the need, and then the technology will come next, and how to implement this need or this requirement or solving a specific issue in the real life.
Wow, that's impressive. Damu, what are your thoughts on the vision for the future impact?
Yeah, I mean, I love everything Fatma just said. I totally agree. You know, I'm also very biased. Give to the UAE, given that I was the single threaded owner for the Emirates Airlines and AWS partnership, and it was to build out what we call IXR, which is immersive extended reality, or I call it Emirates in the Metaverse. And the idea for it, without going into their longer term plan, is to start with Emirates at the hub, and then you can do more with it later on. But at the hub, as Fatma talked about, looking at training your internal resources. The data shows that you have 67% greater retention if you do something in these virtual environments from a remembering the content perspective. um, we know that you're 3 times more likely to spend more time in these virtual environments than you are in a physical environment in terms of when you want to do learning. We know that there's a ton of good research out there and around the training in these virtual environments. And so And then the other part that you highlighted, which I thought was spot on, is about the people of determination. If you have disabilities, that's an exciting the immersive web is going to enable so many new um, what's the right word? So many new opportunities and challenges. So the opportunities are people are going to be, now um, your how you visualize yourself, people can see that version. But then, I can anticipate on the opposite spectrum, right? Which is the ethics piece of it. All right.
Exactly.
Which I think can be a bit challenging. So I think, pros and cons. I think we're going to see a lot of new businesses that will emerge because of this, but also I think we'll also see increased need for mental health. Like I can imagine the mental health metaverse platform, right? Where you go and talk to your counselor or therapist, and that being a thriving business. When I think about how the intersection of that immersive worlds with large language models or Gen AI, how that's going to create virtual worlds on the fly, personalized for that individual user. And the thing about ownership in these virtual worlds, I just think it's an exciting world we live in now, and it's only going to move faster now that we can connect with anyone around the world at any given time, and it can start to feel like we're actually there. Like even this environment that we're in right now, this is different than our traditional meeting rooms, right? This is a metaverse of sorts, right? Where we're still able to collaborate and connect with each other. And it feels, in my opinion, better than a traditional Zoom or Chime or whatever else thing that's out there. It feels more immersive. And that I'm excited about. Hopefully that answered your question, Tracy.
Yep, yep. Now, you touched upon challenges. So,
Yeah.
Web3 presents both challenges and opportunities. What do you see as the primary challenges in this Web3 space? And we'll start with you since you brought it up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think the biggest challenge is the demographics, right? So, for me, the biggest challenge is you have um, the baby boomers who are I guess transitioning typically out of the workforce at this point. Your Gen X's that are digital adopters or are being forced to become digital adopters. But then you have your millennials and Gen Zs millennials are like I think on the cusp. If you're like in your early 40s, you're on the cusp. But the millennials in essence are the first generation to be digital natives, and so they are more familiar with this space. We know that in the U.S. alone, one in three, so a third of the population of millennials actually own one digital asset today. So these millennials already get it. The Gen Zs definitely get it. If you played Fortnite or any of these games, in the U.S. alone, what is it? 74% of all children between the ages of 12 and 16 or 12, yeah, I think 12 and 16 are on something called Roblox today. Roblox is a metaverse of sorts. So the data is clear that that generation understands um, digital assets. They could be because they acquire them. Two out of five will change their digital assets, their wearables on their avatar at least once a week,
Mm.
at least once a week. So they get it. So I think the greatest challenge is that the older generation doesn't get it. It's like how can you explain to someone that owning a digital asset is more valuable than owning a physical asset because the mindset is different. Older generation are digital adopters, newer generation or younger generation are digital natives. So they get it because this is what they grew up on. And so the challenge there is, that bridge. How do you bridge the two worlds together that says your way of thinking is not wrong, but it's just different than the newer generation's way of thinking? And when you and the example I like to give is that, the older generation, how you personalize things, why you personalize things was so that people could see your fancy car, your license plate, so they can see how you identified with yourself or your representation. The younger generation is doing the same thing with digital assets. They value it more because they spend more time in these virtual worlds. The average teen spends between 6 to 8 hours a day in virtual environments. So if they're spending 6 to 8 hours in virtual environments where the audience is global, it is important for them that their identity is reflected to that global audience. And so for them, the way to do that is through digital assets. So that's through their NFTs or their digital currencies, et cetera, et cetera. And but that's going to create a lot of challenges at the end of the day because there's just two different demographics. Those who have the wallet today are the baby boomers and Gen X's. And most organizations, large organizations, are the decision makers, whereas the younger generation are they're not the decision makers. They have access to the wallet because they're the children, but they're not the decision makers. So I think that's the biggest challenge we're going to face.
Yeah, the bridge I think is extremely important and challenging there. Fatma, what are your thoughts on the challenges that we face?
I agree with Damu, and I guess it is how to mind the gaps between the two generations. It is very important, you know. The Gen Z generation or the young generation right now, they are fully aware of the data and the ownership in the digital world. For them, because they are using different platforms, they know the importance of the digital assets because of the time they spend on the digital platforms. But at the same time, the old generation, they have, as Demo just mentioned, the decision, and they can take the decision on the payment, on the different execution of the solution, or whatever the platform. So I guess minding the gaps of, you know, or giving the awareness or the technology awareness to the old generation of the having the data or the ownership over the data and over even your avatar or your, you know, presence in the digital platform is very important. But not only that, also giving them examples of the existing platforms that they are using. So if we see many platforms that we are currently using, it's not web3 platforms. Okay, we don't have any provision, you know, or supervision on your data, right? The data, it is owned by the platform owner or the operator, right? You are just, you know, one of the users there. However, Web3 platforms are all self-sovereign identity. You own your data, you own your presence in this digital world, and you own your skins, your appearance, you own everything, and you can change it as well. So this is the knowledge we need to give the old generation, but not only that, we need to give them also the advantage of using such platforms, right? Moving from the normal or the traditional kind of payment methods to having the provision on the digital assets, different digital assets or virtual assets, the different types of virtual assets, and what would be the advantage. Okay, integrating your digital wallet, having your digital wallet as your identity, and then you will be able to share your data. You have the full ownership on your data based on a specific consent, right? And then you will be rewarded. This is a different mindset. Where the Generation Z right now, as Demo mentioned, they are fully aware of this. They know that, yes, this is my character, this is my skin. I can trade my skin, but you will give me another skin, right? Or I will be rewarded. This mindset, it's already there in the Gen Z, but we need to give this awareness to the old generation and give them real examples, okay? Not only for the gaming platforms or the different platforms, but real examples for solutions that can be enhanced and will give the full ownership to the user over his data or her data, and in return I will be able to share my data and will be rewarded, or I have incentive, you know, for a specific reality program or a specific kind of virtual assets that it can be gained, and so on. So again, it is the awareness, the minding the gaps between the two generations, and providing the technology adoption and the advantage of having such technology. It is more about the data ownership, which is here in the Gulf, we say it is the new oil.
Okay. Great point on the ownership part, but I want to just close out this question with Layla before we move on to that one.
Okay, I'm sure that Fatma and Damo has covered most of the challenges, and I'm just going to, let me say, add one more, which is about the mentalities, because everyone, when we are speaking about, let me say, the use of the Web3, they considered, for example, the metaverse. They said, it's like a gaming platform we cannot use. And I say, this is, the mentality, for example, because they think that, why they think it's like a gaming, because most of the, I have to say, 70%, for example, of the users for the metaverse are gamers, the gaming platforms. And When it comes to mentioning, let me say, the importance of implementing this technology, if you, for example, if you are going to any government and we are not interested to implement this, but they just feel that when there's some emergency, like happened, to us during COVID-19. So the people who are working now as technology providers in the Web3 are really struggling because of the mentalities, and they say, we are no more interested. We don't think that we're gonna need it because we feel just going to be like a wealth of using it. And I'm always say we have to continue convincing them, change the mentalities, because if we're not going to use it today, after 5, 10 years, you don't want to be left behind. Be the first to use it and not with the others, because everyone they said, we want to see country X and country Z what they will do, and then we will think about it. Today, the Web3 can be, let me say, like a bomb, and it can support you or it can destroy you. It depends on the scenarios that you are going to create, let me say, in Web3 technologies and scenarios. So this is all what I can add from my side.
Okay. So let's go
Yeah.
back to the point that Fatma brought up before. So Web3 emphasizes user ownership and community involvement. Uh, how do these principles transform the industries? You talked about owning your data, so that empowers you, but how does this transform the industries? Fatma, let's start with you.
Okay, yeah. So I think this will open up different, solutions and applications that it can be used for different industries. So if we are talking about the government sector, okay, this will be actually opening different opportunities, a lot of opportunities from the investment part, opening a new, investment channel to global users or, international users. They can invest in certain country, okay, without visiting the country because they have the leverage over everything they want. The platform gives them actually whatever information needed in order for them to start investing in certain service or business activity or even the real estate. Okay, this is if we are picturing one of the industries. Second, it is like the healthcare or the well-being, right? Or mental health. If I have the full access on data, I can share it with a specific medical or healthcare provider anywhere in the world where they can have access on my data, assess my situation. If I need a certain exercise for my physiotherapy, knee physiotherapy, or on different physiotherapy exercises or sessions, they can start advising on what would be the best for me. Having the immersive experience or the visualization of certain locations. I can have my physiotherapy or my workout on beach in the morning while I'm sitting in the mountainside, right? And I can not only that, I can subscribe in certain program worldwide where I'm, in the winter, and this kind of program it is in the summer. I can visualize it in the summer as well, or I can attend certain event or a concert where I cannot, but it is in my wish list, right? I cannot travel because of any situation or situation that I am there, but I can go there and attend this event or attend this concert and having this attendance, or attend this event and get done. Also, if we are talking about the tourism, right, I can visit all whatever it is in my wish list, right, and assess if I need really to do this kind of visit in reality or no, right. I can pay for this entire vacation or entire trip and plan before I travel to this specific country. So, for example, what we are doing in Meta Essence, the sovereign metaverse, specifically for tourism, planning ahead your travel, getting the access on certain location, beaches, clinics to start interacting with your doctor before you travel to the country, having access on different business activities where you can register your interest for investment before you travel to your country. It changed the your visit or the weather to assess better if I need to visit this location in winter or in summer, right? What will be the selfie spot, the best selfie spot for me and my family, right? What will be the better communication for me if I want an assistant, to support me, giving me more information about this kind of historical location, if I'm talking about historical location. So this assistant also shouldn't be biased to certain data or certain location. It has to be biased only for the assistant he's supporting, which is me, right? So he has to provide me with the right information that is matching only my preference and no others. So this is just a brief on how the Web3 or the emerging technology in general will impact different industries. I can talk till morning, Tracy.
I'm sure, but let's let uh, Layla uh, give us her thoughts on that, and then perhaps we can chat a little more. We did lose Demu. He was called off to an emergency that he had to deal with. Hope everything is all right. But let's continue. Layla, what are your thoughts?
Okay, I love the scenarios that Fatma just mentioned about, how we can, let me say, save time and cost by using the metaverse and other technologies. And one of the, let me say, interesting scenarios that I was recently discussing it with some of my colleagues and, let me say, in a global conference. And I said, we should value the importance of the privacy. And what I really love, for example, about the metaverse, having some service in metaverse, one of these scenarios, for example, so many people, because we are now becoming smarter and the hackers are becoming more smarter. So what happens? So many people are getting blackmailed because of using the different AI generative applications. Now they can fake, let me say, your voice, your photos, and they can just pretend that you are. So they just get your, let me say, voice, and then they can fake your photo and so on. Some people, they are still ignorant. They will get panic as soon as someone is just, approaching them and they say, I have your photos. Especially I'm speaking about the Middle East, for example. And if you try to get a support, whether you are, let me say, a woman or a man. So why I'm focusing on the privacy? Because the privacy, me as a person, do I have to tell everyone, hey, come, I have a problem? So the current scenario, you have to go physically to the police station to report that somebody is blackmailing you. And most of the people, they refuse. Unfortunately, this lead, some of them, they lose their life. They end their lives because they cannot pay with it. So if we can have such services in the metaverse, because we love also to interact with people, we want somebody to listen to us. It doesn't mean that I have to show her as my photo that you can see me very well, but I can have my own avatar and I can interact with one of the, let me say, consultants who are like avatar there. Because, for example, Stacy, you are there. I'm coming to you. Please help me, support me, because I'm also working in Oman IT Society. It's a non-profit organizations, and one of these initiatives about cybersecurity and where we can, empower communities, awareing them about what's really happening around us. I listen to so many stories every day. So if we are going to think about it from the human, let me say, element, we have to use it in technology so it can save the lives of people. So this is one of the, let me say, scenarios that really I love to talk about it, because about the privacy of us, that I don't want everyone to know that I am being blackmailed. And I'm sure this is not just, in the Middle East, it's everywhere, because nobody loves to share for the others. I have been fooled down. I have been blackmailed. We need like a space where we can trust, share our concerns. So this is how we can empower this technology to support the people. This is what I could share with you, Stacy.
That's a very interesting concept and not something that I had thought about before. We have, on the one hand, the empowerment of the individual and the control over their data. And then you have, on the flip side, this concept of that there are people with nefarious intentions that have found a way to manipulate that data, and it seems to contradict each other. So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, so I guess education, going back to a concept that
Okay.
was discussed
Yes.
before,
Yeah.
education, just and having transparency and just knowing what this is, and empowering people to actually go to the police. But the police also have to understand how to enforce or what to do with this kind of complaint, which brings me to the next topic: job skills and preparing for this. uh, so on the practical side now, the implementation, the execution of an infrastructure, uh, what's this landscape looking like for the kind of skills that people are going to have to develop, the kind of jobs that are
Yes.
going to come out of this? What do you see coming? And let's continue with Layla.
Okay, what I can see, I'm telling everyone, for example, till now, people are still getting panic from metaverse, and I say this is like the skills of the future. If you are not going to learn about using these platforms, you're going to be considered as ignorant. If you are, let me say that a person who never studied. So today, the person who never know how to use this technology is the one who's not educated. And what kind of skills we're going to use? We're going to use, for example, builders. Now we have students who are learning how to design 3D buildings, for example. When it comes to the metaverse, how I can, for example, create a building, a table, objects. Uh, and this is one of the examples here, for example, Stacy. So it's no more like before. Before, it used to be the websites, but now we use no code platforms. No code platforms with one click, just drag in, drag. You can just build your own websites easily without using cards. So the skills that we need to learn is how to design these, let me say, objectives, so we can have our own virtual platforms. You can have your own virtual platforms, but you need to decorate it. And how you are going to decorate it? So this is how we're no more going to have programmers. We're going to have designers, for example, for the, let me say, virtual platform for each organizations, because now every organization is coming to you and saying, I need to design for me a building, and I need it with A, B, C, D. So this is the kind of skills we're going to use it. AI skills, the data analysis, because now you're going to extract also the data of your virtual platform, and you have to know how to work with it. The other skills is about also, let me say, the integration of different technologies. So they have to adapt these skills earlier. It's no more about designing a website, coding a website, because with the evolution of the chat GPT and all the other, let me say, AI generated applications, everyone now can do it easily. So now we have to align ourselves. And it's very important to be also part of our curricula, because when it comes to that, they are talking about the future of education, how we are going to deal with the student. And last time, I was attending a conference, and in that conference, so many students were attending that event. And one of the academic, he was asking about these technologies are very dangerous and it's gonna threat the education. I said, no. If we think about it differently, believe me, I asked the students, are you ready to use this technology? All of them, they just shout, yes. So I said, challenge them. Don't ask from them to write assignment, write a research. Ask from them to create a product. And when I say a product, now they can use different AI applications. For example, now we have a generative AI application in the text, the voice, the video, creating the images. So now they can create a robot, piece of cake. We need now to see results with all of these technologies. And the students, they were just, laughing and they were smiling. They felt so much happy. No more written assignments. Ask from them to create now robots where they can have different innovative ideas. This is how we can deal with the next generations, by challenging them with new skills.
I love the idea of creating a
Mhm.
robot. So,
Amazing.
so Fatma, what are your thoughts on this?
I guess being, more in the 3D immersive experience and the metaverse, or talking about the sovereign metaverse with the different technology enabled, I guess the first thing we need to consider it is the digital ethics, right? Enabling the entire digital world, it has to have ethics there, and how we maintain the digital ethics while we scale the platform, whatever it is, solving any kind of issue, whatever it is, we need to consider that even if it's a game, what will be the ethics should be followed in such a platform. And when we talk about digital ethics, it is automatically, we need to mention the responsible AI, because we can start building the controls, or the, as we call it, security controls, or the what kind of, aspects or topics that it can be categorized as a red or orange or yellow, where the platform automatically can start, identifying them and removing them from the conversation or the avatar attitude or actions or whatever. But this one also can be managed by AI using responsible AI. So this is the main concept of, or a new skill that we should start introducing to the new generation, the Gen Z, but not only Gen Z, us as well, being, more involved in such a digital world. We have to be more responsible on the ethics and how we start using such platforms moving forward, right, to not be abused as well, to getting the real aim out of this platform. If we have like a platform offering the virtual reality or the virtual tour of a specific kind of locations or well-being or medication, visit a specific hospital that it's there in UK, where we are in different country, like, 10 hours traveling or something like that by airplane, we need to respect that, right? But we are human. We feel, we see the bullying and the, the abuse and this kind of stuff in our daily routine. So we need to take care of that, and really take care of that in the digital world, to make sure that digital ethics, it's being maintained, supported by responsible AI, or, modules that it can support that, feed it in the platform, and maintaining such solutions at a scale. And when we talk about that, it takes also, we need to consider the full stack of such a platform or such solution. When we are talking about immersive user experience, it's not about only the user experience. This is what we see as, application user, right, or the consumer, the end user. But it has to be considered from the infrastructure, the platform will be on the top of that, if it is used blockchain for the transaction, or for giving more security, transparency on the transaction, right? Then the integration, what would be the integration, the data confidentiality, the data security, how this can be considered, right? The compliance, the regulation, and as Dam mentioned when he was with us, it is again also considering the location, the country, where are you, right? Or where this platform it is getting operated, and we need to follow the security controls, the security aspects of this territory or this region. And then what will be the compliance required, especially when we are talking about virtual assets and different type of tokens, right? What will be the compliance and the regulation required in order to start operating such a platform or solution, and then giving the awareness to the end user how to use it and how to make sure that this platform not being abused by the new technology, like, AI and responsible AI. Talking about the new jobs and what will be the landscape for the new jobs, you can see, from what I have just explained, you can see, like, a new business analyst. He will not looking about the new business, or, analyze the business requirement to a certain business workflows in order for the developers to start developing such things. No, he will be looking after how we can use this business workflow in the digital world, but considering the digital ethics, considering the regulation and the different type of security controls. This will be from the beginning. Then you will have the Web3 UI UX, right? Imagining or designing the user experience at large, not just the getting the some buttons or screens beside each other. No, but what will be the user experience in Web3 environment? It is a big failure if the first thing we need to think about it is connect your wallet, because Web3 is not only connecting digital wallet, right? I can use a Web3 solution without connecting my wallet if the platform providing certain built-in token, right, integrated with a specific bank or whatever. So it is beyond the connect your wallet. So the smart or the intelligence from the UI UX also side. This is from the user experience. Talking about user, it is how to consider the user or user-centric approach kind of solutions, talking about Web3, because the user, he's the only one who will have the full ownership on his data. He has to be in the center of everything. So the approach of thinking or building user-centric approach has to be also from the mindset or the skills that it should be actually started to excel in each and every resource. Talking about the platform, what kind of blockchain, if we are talking about blockchain, will be used based again on the solution, based on the compliance, the security, if there will be NFTs, what type of virtual assets or what type of NFTs, what layer or what kind of blockchain layer will be used. Then, if we have the AI capability, what will be the advantage using the AI capability? Talking about this as a solution, then you'll have the cloud or the infrastructure and how it will be, scalable to support such a solution for a specific number of users, and how this will be automated and scaling up and scaling down the infrastructure based on the usage, right? Everyone right now is talking about the technology, but how to combine the technology with the business needs and with the commercial model is the key, right? Talking about the commercial model, we need someone business development with open mind kind of approach, talking about new business models, right? Not the in advance payment and yearly payment like that. No, it's everything about now subscription model, the SaaS model. It is pay as you go or as you use, right? So different mindset. You have to be agile, you have to be lean, accepting the different approaches, but again based on the changes we see it in the environment, not only the technology, but the overall solution using Web3 AI, different emerging technology. It has to come with the infrastructure, it has to come with the security, with the compliance, with even the lawyer has to understand the crypto and the crypto regulations and the fraud and AML and CAF, how can be managed, and how we can actually adapt such a situation, right? Connecting your wallet, it is the easiest way. I can do it with one API. But what about the KYC or know your customer to make sure that it's not, coming from a wrong wallet or something like it? It will be a money laundry later if I will ask certain government entity for the refund, right? This will be money laundering. So even from the law kind of the lawyer, we don't need a normal lawyer. We need a crypto lawyer who is actually understanding the technology, who understands the impact of the technology moving forward. So it is a complete ecosystem, like, and they have to be agile, adapting the technology, knowing the technology at the level or the certain extent that they can support their specialty. If they are a lawyer, okay, I need to know the crypto impact on the solution and specific applications that I am supporting. If I'm UI UX designer, I need to understand the user journey and the scenarios, why I need to build this UI UX design, for the Web3 integration. It's not the first thing to connect your digital wallet. No, it's not the case. Okay, if I am a security auditor, I need to understand the smart contracts, right? And the way of writing smart contract, how to maintain it, and how to be smart contract auditor. If I am, a blockchain back-end engineer, I need to understand the data confidentiality, the different consensus mechanism, and what will be the layers of the different blockchain protocols that I need to interact with in order to provide the best, right? So it is a complete ecosystem, it's a complete mindset. And my advice, it has to be, everyone have to be actually agile of in accepting a new technology, learning this technology to support whatever specialty he's in or she's in. So if I'm a technologist, I need to understand the new technology to support my domain and be aware of the other technologies only for the as a technology awareness, or to be up to date. But the key, it is to always learn, always be open to different technologies, be aware of, on different trends, and be agile to be actually accepting different technologies, learning new skill, and start going out of your comfort zone and start building a new skill in your career.
So, what you just described is uh, individuals upskilling themselves and learning. And you mentioned how we need lawyers that know crypto and we need this now. But there's that flip side. As we started off this discussion, we said that Web3 is a paradigm shift in the way we all interact with the digital world. So, at what age do you think this should start? Is this something that should be brought into the education systems and have children learning uh, because they're part of this interaction, and these will eventually be the doctors and the designers and the lawyers later on in life that will be using this. So, what are your thoughts on how we incorporate this into education? And let's continue your thoughts, and then we'll move on to Layla.
As early as we can. So, and if I will, mention that personally, my daughter, she's 12 and she knows the blockchain by heart. She knows the NFT. She actually designs her own collection. She knows what is NFT, what is the virtual asset, and she knows what is the digital ethics and what is the idea behind it, and how to even, if she's working or playing on Roblox, for example, because all the kids right now, they are using Roblox. She knows what is the digital assets and what does it mean, and how to not be abused in the system, and on this kind of game, because of the chat window and this kind of stuff. So as early as we can, we need to teach our kids, because this is the new future, and the future is today. We need to start, teaching them about the digital wallet, the digital money, even how they can use it, the credit card. Everyone, even the kids, they know they have the credit cards in the school for their canteen and this stuff. They need to understand the idea behind it, how it works, okay, and why it's important. Why right now we have our digital wallet on our iWatch, right? Apple Watch right now, we can use it. Why? And how we can secure it, how we can secure our keys, right? And what's the difference between the cold wallet, the hot wallet? Even this kind of terminologies, the kids, they need to understand, because this, by the way, it is the a part of the overall mental health and well-being, because you have the full ownership on everything, not only the payment and the technology, but it's also you are interacting on digital platform. You need to know what is the boundaries for others and what is the boundaries for you,
Yeah,
right? And you need to know it well. So the answer, it is as soon as we can. I think it is from age 4 we need to teach our kids
yeah.
the importance of technology, how to use it, and how to set your boundaries, and to make sure nobody is it's actually exceeding that.
What I'm seeing is more and more schools are putting out policies that they are preventing or prohibiting their students from using AI in any of their lessons. And actually, in the news, I've seen students have reports of students failing their courses because the instructor suspected that they used AI for their assignment. Not proven, but suspected, and they failed them. So, Leila, what is your thought on this?
Well, let me first comment in what Fatma just shared. It was really beautiful with how she's commented about, adapting the business model. And this is one of the things that, I said, if you want to, let me say, market for Web3, we have to market for Web3 as a metaverse. Because now, if you are going to talk about the implementation of the technology, about also the PPP model that we are going to follow up, the partnership between the private and the public. So I said, don't go and say, I have a metaverse, I have a Web3. No, you have to understand who's your client, because it's something normal, you know. If you go to your sister, for example, she's not good in technology. And as soon as you just start talking about metaverse, and then what are you talking about? And she'll just not interested. And if you go to a government, they will not be interested. And to be honest with you, they will just feel panic, because they will think this is something outside their comfort of zone. So we have to make it very simple for them. We can even use the storytelling. So we can say, okay, you are working in the banking sector. I can offer you the metaverse as a service. So how can I do that? For example, building for you a virtual bank sector. No need for you to have physical branches. You're gonna reduce this cost. You're gonna save this time. And we have to also show them the return of investment on it. If you are going to for the government, tell them, I can offer it. For example, I have worked a lot with the government organizations. If you are going to talk about the engineering process for services, sometimes we need like to do a lab to bring most of the government organizations in one lab, physical one, so we can just discuss how we can improve the automation, or let me say how we can lean that service. And imagine this, that we have to pay a lot of money, we have to be in the infrastructure, but we have thousands of services. So we can do it in virtual labs, so we can interact with the employees. So I said, go and offer it as a service. I can offer you metaverse as a service by having virtual labs. We can offer you these statistics, these tools. For example, they would need, for example, the voting. They said, we can do that for you. They will say, we need to have a board so we can write on it. We can do that for you. So it's very important how we offer the Web3 as a service. And why it's as a service? Because as I said, you don't want the client to say, oh, thank you, I'm not interested, but you want to get the buy-in from them, because they will no more feel panic. And you're gonna do A to Z. You just have to create that scenario, customize to them. Back to you,
Yeah.
Stacy.
Yes.
And
So
welcome, Dami.
So very all very good points, and how to use it as a service. And I see we have Damu back.
Yeah.
Um, so Damu, what you've heard the tail end of this discussion, and it was really on. It started off with the upskilling, and the skills that are needed, practical skills that are needed, and we kind of moved off into education. What are your thoughts on this space? For example, one of the items that was brought up was how students have been prohibited from using AI in school, in many schools. And the general consensus is that that's probably not a good idea. That people should start learning this early on, because we are seeing this as a paradigm shift. And Lele eventually moved into metaverse as a service. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, first, I definitely want to call attention to the elephant in the room. I apologize. I had an escalation that came up, so I had to jump on another call. So I apologize to the panelists and to the moderator for my dipping out for a second there. In terms of um, the thing about technology, we have this concept called digital divide, and the digital divide, in essence, is how some have access to technology at an early age, and because of that, they get further along in life, right? They get greater access. There's a tremendous amount of data that shows that if you look at um, nations that don't have access to technology, they typically don't have the same amenities that you see in other nations where they have access to technology. And so I think that same concept applies um, to giving people access to the technology regardless of where they are in the world. My point of that is, if you don't give people access to this technology and they're not exposed to it, then they won't grow at the same pace as their peers, and that creates a disadvantage, right? And so, so again, when the internet became so popular, um, uh, the data showed let me back up. One of the biggest reasons why Facebook went to Africa was because they saw that if they gave them access to the internet, they would be able to. The data shows that they would be able to better farm. They'll learn from the greater community on how to do better with the agriculture. But also, Facebook decided that if they become a first mover by providing this access in these areas, what that does is they become the um, the the go-to platforms. Like they become synonymous with the people that live there. So kind of like right now we all say Google it. That means search for it, right? So if Facebook is the first mover in these places, and they offer a service that hasn't been there before, i.e., internet, and that internet gives you access to how to be a better farmer, how to get access to capital, etc. Then you become you build a stickiness or a brand connection, a connection with that brand. And so my I guess the bigger point why I'm bringing this up is at the end of the day, if you don't give people access to the technology, then they're gonna be left behind. And the one who does give them access to the technology becomes the brand that people remember and want to work with. So people, for example, Chat GPT, people who are using Chat GPT, if you bring out any other Bart or whatever else stuff that comes out, if you started using Chat GPT in the beginning and they offered you so much value, you build a relationship with it and you use it a lot. And so to summarize it back up, at the end of the day, children should have access to the technology so that they're not at a disadvantage compared to their peers. And the brands that are offering the technology should be out there as much as possible, being the first mover advantage and offering a very awesome experience because that's what will allow them to build a great relationship or a long lasting relationship with that demographic.
Thank you. All right, so let's move on to the regulatory landscape.
Yeah.
We've briefly talked about privacy, we've talked about policy. Let's talk about that regulatory landscape and how it's prohibiting or facilitating uh, the accessibility and just access and innovating on Web3. What are your thoughts on the regulatory landscape? And let's start with demo.
That's a complicated topic. That's a hard one, right? Tracy, you and I know why that's so complicated. But I would say depends on where you are in the world, right? So you have places like the UAE, which is very forward leaning and uh, are encouraging emerging technology to be embraced by not only the government but also by public commercial sector or retail sector. And then you have other nations that seem to um, want to have greater control over it, and that is sometimes can stifle innovation. And so I'll pass it to someone else to comment on this one, and happy to uh, talk about it at the end there. Yeah.
But I
Okay,
think you're right. It does depend on the country. So go ahead, Layla.
okay. So when it comes to the regulations, as Dama, was saying, the regulation is very important because you have to get a national first regulations. And so many countries, they started with that regulations. And why we need regulations? Let me tell you one example. For example, before looking to this platform, you told me if the platform is not going to work with you, you have to use the VPN. So this is just one example of so many countries, they are still blocking, let me say, the Web3 platforms. I still remember, the first time I used a virtual platform in 2006. I could access the virtual platform, but I couldn't speak because the voice IP at that time was blocked. Luckily, today is no more blocked like we used to have it. Yeah, some other countries, you're gonna still find it blocked, and you need to use VPN and so on. And that depends in every country. Are they ready to adapt these technology or no? So we have to collaborate together. And when it comes to the, let me say, the relations, it not should be the government alone because the government they will not know how to lead it alone because they have also to understand the requirement of the private sector. I am as a private sector, what I will need as a support from the government as regulations. definitely gonna have, for example, high bandwidth to use the Web3. Okay, so I'm going to use the high bandwidth. So they need also to have another regulations when it comes to the policies of the telecommunication, or let me say the space communication that everyone now is talking about it. It's not just about bringing a piece of information and put it in a policy and that's all. No, it's about changing some of the policies and regulations. And to do that, you have to do it with all the pillars of the community. And I love to call it the smart community wheel. So it's about the government, the private, academia. Academia is very important. Startups and SMEs, and the people, or let me say the community who are going to use the service. We have to bring them all together and work together in having a very, let me say, straightforward governance for that new technology. Because they will say, okay, we are going to support, but the reality, and I have been discussing this, recently, because they will speak, for example, implementation of that technology. One authority will give you the permission. You will go to the next government. They said, sorry, I never heard about this. I cannot support you. So we have to have like a national policy with new updated regulations and policies. This is what I can just comment about it when it comes to the regulations.
Yeah. Okay, so this is really nice, Laila and Damu. If you allow me, I want to add on this point. Being privileged, staying here in the UAE for almost 15 years right now, and UAE it's actually leading this and at the forefront of the uh, especially in the Gulf area. And the reason why, because if we actually considering the learning curve, you cannot learn if you not do mistakes, right? And if you cannot you put the threshold, or putting like stages, you can avoid mistakes and minimize the risk of getting the failure, or the mistakes. And this is what actually the UAE is doing in the regulation side, considering the others, or the other countries and their experience in their, for example, for the data security, or for the regulation for virtual asset, what Singapore government has done in such a situation, or in this aspect. And they considered that, and they started to building their controls based on the benchmark they took it from different, or their actually assist from other countries, and they started building on the top of that. So it is the stages. If we can see right now what VARA, or the Virtual Asset Regulation Authority here in the UAE or in Dubai, they are following, or ADGM, okay, their rule book actually, or the guide that they have announced and provided to different virtual asset service provider, it is stages. Even for the license process, it's stages. First, you go with the first round, second round, and third round, until you take the full operational license. So this is what UAE is doing. If you are talking about data security and regulation from even the application end to end, they have established actually entity called Dubai Electronic Security Center, which is what the security controls out of this entity. It is the international security controls, like the ISO 27001 for the cloud hosting, and the multi-tenant approach, and this kind of stuff, how to be segregated the network even from the infrastructure. Then considering the ISO 27017, which is talking about the data confidentiality and the data categorization, and how to deal with data at large. And then considering the ISR, again for the data and the data confidentiality at large, and the CSA star, which is the Cloud Security Alliance, and what will be the star that you will be getting. And then they build on the top of that different security controls that it's very specific to the country and their regulation. And then they call it the disk certification. So this certification or Dubai Electronic Security Center certification is nothing, but it's a collection of international security compliance or certifications plus a group of other security controls. So this is what Dubai and the UAE in general is doing, taking the benchmark from other countries, getting the business model, or the model that it's actually matching, and it is very close to the usage of the solutions here in the region, and then building the security controls and making it phases. Phases for what? To minimize the risk of failure, and to minimize the risk of launching the solution for production or for the end users that will might impact the commercial model, or giving like fraud or something like that. So that's why it's always phasing the stages of the approvals, or giving the specific certificates for all the levels, or to all the levels of the application stack, from the infrastructure to the middleware to the application, and also the virtual assets, considering bara or edgm, or even Dubai Financial Service Authority, which is the one under the DFC.
So it's pretty clear that there is a definite value to collaboration across the sectors, from private, for profit, and nonprofit, the public sector, as well as academia. And I think academia is a very important part of this going forward. So that was the last question I had. I want to open the floor. Is there any closing comment that any of you have, some point that you didn't feel you didn't get in, or something you want to clarify? Oh no, it was a great discussion. We got it all in there. Okay. All right. Well, then thank you for joining. This was a great discussion. Our discussion today illuminated that there's Web3 is a very multifaceted and evolving area. To our audience, a heartfelt thank you for joining us. Uh, Damu, Fatma, Layla, thank you for your invaluable insights. Your contributions have been instrumental in broadening the understanding and the discussion. And again, the most important part of this is that it's an ongoing discussion. Uh, so one thing I do want to say to the audience, I invite you to keep our conference that's coming up soon, the Chicago AI Conference, on your radar. It's a fantastic opportunity to continue engaging in this discussion and in the dynamic world that we're in right now. It's constantly evolving, constantly changing. And as we said before, collaboration is key. Having this conversation going is critically important. So thank you again for joining. And I close today's session.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Tracy. Thank you for having
much.
me. Thank you for
Okay.
having me. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Tracy.
Bye
Thank you.
bye. Bye.